Hand-cut, hand-breaded chicken fingers. It's the best. Champy'sChicken.com.
All right, it is back tonight. The NFL Ravens and Chiefs. Did I get that one right, Dunaway? Did I go visiting team first?
Visiting
You're
team
welcome.
first, always.
Our man looks like he just got out of Tom's bachelor party in Succession.
What's up, Dan Orlovsky? How are you?
I'm great. I want some chicken after hearing that read, to be honest with you. So I'm doing great. I hopefully you guys had an amazing summer. I'm excited football's back. I'm probably not as excited as many other people. During the summer, everyone's like, man, can't wait football to be back. I'm like, it goes as long as it wants. So all good.
So tonight, and I said this, and I don't know if you agree, Dan, we've got 4 primetime games this week. Starting tonight,
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, we've got Philly and Green Bay. Sunday night, the Rams in Detroit. Monday night, Jets, 49ers. I have never seen a collection of primetime games this good. Now, whether or not they play out in their incredible games, I don't know. But just on paper going into a weekend, those are fantastic matchups.
Yeah, big time. I think the overwhelming sentiment is there's just not a lot of bad football teams in the NFL this year. The parity has only increased over the past couple of seasons, and I think you see that with the opening weekend. Certainly the primetime games, you sit there and there's just not a lot of bad football teams, and I think we're going to get a lot of good football games that are close and competitive, and it's going to be the story of the season. So obviously I cannot wait till to watch tonight because of the rematch of the AFC title game, and can Baltimore finally get it done type of thing. Certainly to start the year. Tomorrow night's going to be amazing because both those teams are really good, and both those teams are offensively loaded, and both those quarterbacks are big-time players. And then Sunday night, it's Stafford, Detroit again, and coming off of that unbelievable playoff game, and 2 teams that I think could certainly make noise in the NFC playoffs. And then, I said this morning, could you imagine if the Jets go and win on Monday night? Woo. It's like, holy smokes. It's not just assumption or projection. It's like, oh, they are legit good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how often do you get to say the Jets have the better quarterback? Like, I don't know if that's true or not with Brock Purdy. I feel good, although we've only seen Aaron Rodgers for a series in the last 2 years, that the Jets actually have a better quarterback situation. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brock is obviously a big-time player, but, the resume for Aaron speaks for itself. And, everyone likes to point out 2022, which is the last year we got him to see him play. And they're like, he was bad. He threw for like 26 touchdowns and I think 12 interceptions with a broken thumb. So it wasn't the back-to-back MVP seasons, but I can tell you this, if he plays that way for the Jets, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Xavier Worthy tonight for Kansas City, the rookie. What does he bring to the table? How does he help out the team?
Yeah, he brings Tyreek back in many ways. He brings that offense back to when they had Tyreek Hill, and it's that vertical speed. And I think we'll see Andy Reid in this offense use Xavier Worthy in the way that maybe Miami has used Tyreek Hill, with some of that motion that happens right full speed at the snap, and all of a sudden the defense is like, oh my gosh. And so I do think that they're going to take shots down the field with them, but I also think just the attraction of bodies, just out of the respect of the vertical speed and some of those deep balls is going to just gravitate and pull defenders his way. And I think it's going to open up some stuff, for more chunk passes for Kelsey, for more chunk passes for Rashee Rice. So it's a lot of pressure, obviously, to step into that role, that element as a rookie, and we'll see if he's capable of it. I think he is. The Deshaun Jackson mold might be a greater comp for him, but vertical speed is the biggest part.
Super Bowl MVP versus the league MVP tonight. I feel like us in the media will overreact tomorrow about whoever wins this game has passed the other. Is that something that will happen? Do we put too much in individual at this quarterback position in this battle?
Oh, we always do. We always do it at that position. The big thing is, no matter if Baltimore wins or loses tonight, if they make the playoffs and they got to see Patrick and them again, we are going to sit there and say, and rightfully so, can Baltimore beat them when it matters? That's rightfully so. Now they got to go prove it to themselves and prove it that they're capable, and the addition of Derrick Henry matters. But if they win tonight and they got to play again in January, we're going to say, well, you did it in the regular season. We've seen you do it in the regular season. Go do it in the playoffs. And I don't think that's unfair. It's not a Lamar versus Patrick thing, obviously. And in Kansas City, goes out and loses tonight. They did last year. And so to start the season. So I do think that there's more of the unknown in Baltimore. The loss of Patrick Queen, 3 new offensive linemen, a new defensive coordinator. So they got to go prove that they can go beat the defending champion for sure. But it's not going to mean that if they see each other again, I'm picking Baltimore. No.
Dan Orlovsky is with us. He joins us weekly during the NFL season, courtesy of MyBookie.ag. Code next round. When you sign on, they will double that initial deposit right there at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. Code next round. I don't want to put words in your mouth because I think you said it while we were on the show here, but I've seen it on social media. But essentially, what I saw was you said zero excuse for Jalen Hurts this year. Zero excuse. He's got all the weapons he could ask for around him. It is put up or shut up, essentially. Am I putting words in your mouth? What did you say about Jalen Hurts?
No, that's absolutely true, because the only thing that I say is, well, it's his third offensive coordinator in 3 years. So it might take a little bit of time for him to really get control of this offense. But if we just take a treetop view of this offense, one, you got an offensive coordinator, Kelmore, who's had nothing but top 5 offenses as a play caller. Situationally, may have to get better, but top 5 offenses. You got an offensive line that's going to be top 5 in the NFL, top 6 in the NFL when it's all said and done. You got a receiver trio group that I think is the best trio in the NFC. You can make the case that it's the best skill group, top to bottom, when you go receivers, tight end with Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley. So you got all these pieces, this offensive line and this offensive system and play caller. If it doesn't work as an offense, there's nowhere else to point but the play of the quarterback. And I think him and Philadelphia and Cleveland are both in very, very similar situations. Now, I expect Jalen to play better than Deshaun, but there's places where you sit there and go, if it doesn't work, and even like in Dallas, I sit there and go, are they going to be good enough on the offensive line, or where that secondary receiver really step forward for consistency outside of CeeDee Lamb? You can't say that in Philadelphia.
So it was a disaster last year in Carolina. Dave Canales comes in, who I think is going to be really good. I don't know how good it's going to be this year with Bryce Young. The NFC South is wide open. Everyone is picking the Atlanta Falcons now that Kirk Cousins is there. But do you see improvement coming for Bryce Young in year 2?
I do. I've remained adamant, and I'm going to have to fight it this year. But I have said 2025 is the year when we can make the judgment on Bryce, at least somewhat fairly. But I do want to see improvement, and I think we get it. I think the biggest thing Canales will do is you're not going to see the ball being held a ton by the quarterback. And there's twofold. One, that's going to help the offensive line, who underperformed last year. They get Robert Hunt from Miami, so that's going to be a nice addition for them in the interior. And then Deontay Johnson's addition, they trade for him from out of Pittsburgh. Like, to get the ball in your hands, the ball, you got to get cats that are going to get open. And I think Deontay's a guy that has really good separation. So I do expect to see a jump, and obviously it can't get much worse performance or result wise. But I do think that there's going to be justifiable moments from Bryce that you go, all right, that looks like that number 1 pick type of player. And then next year, with some more additions, we'll be able to make a real fair and firm judgment.
Dan, you take me back to 2021 and tell me Bo Nix is a rookie starter and captain of an NFL franchise. I would have laughed you off this show. But
sure.
But here we are in Seattle. It's an uphill climb. I mean, starting as a rookie is tough enough. Starting it as a rookie at Seattle, I mean, that is a really, really tough spot for him.
Yeah, and he's going against Mike McDonald, who's their head coach, who comes over from Baltimore, that, we raved about his what we call simulated pressures, meaning, he shows you one thing, you're like, I don't necessarily know if it's a blitz or it's not a blitz and where it's coming from. And sometimes when you get blitzes as quarterbacks, you're like, okay, cool. It's like recess, my guy versus your guy. But these simulated pressures challenge everybody on an offense. It makes an offensive lineman think and communicate, same with the quarterback, and they still have people in coverage. So it's really challenging. And I think that Sean Payton for Bo Nix, and I don't disagree with that initial statement, I think it's going to be really important to get a good screen game, some of the play action stuff to keep protection. I think the big thing with Bo was, man, when he was at Auburn, he would run around like a chicken with his head cut off, and always trying to prove that, yes, I was worthy of the recruitment and whatnot. And You saw a great level of maturity. I do think that maturity bodes well for him, but it is a big-time challenge to start his NFL career.
Better chance at a major bounce back at the quarterback position this year, Deshaun Watson with Cleveland or Kyler Murray with Arizona?
Yeah, Kyler Murray with Arizona. I think Deshaun's had back-to-back multiple touchdown pass games once since 2020. He's had a passer rating over 100 once since 2019. So, I mean, on the field as a player, I once said he was the best quarterback under 25, not Patrick Mahomes. We don't have that. We don't have the evidence of that. Where Kyler, there were some signs last year coming off the ACL that, a little bit more remnant of what we had been accustomed to. I want to see if he could take a jump. Obviously, the addition of, a player like Harrison's going to be a big deal, and just the size. They didn't have any size. So I like him in that offense that they're going to run out there. I much more comfortable saying Kyler than Deshaun.
All right, it is 7:20 tonight, Ravens Chiefs, 7:20 Central Time on NBC. It is good to have the NFL back, and it's good to have Orlovsky back on the show with us. Thank you very much, Dan. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Guys, have a great time.
All right,
Sounds
buddy.
good.
We'll see you. Dan with us, courtesy of MyBookie.ag, where you find Kansas City currently a 3-point favorite in that game tonight over Baltimore. If you missed the stat earlier, Lamar Jackson will be making his 15th start as an underdog. This is from Todd Furman. As a dog, 10-4 as a starting quarterback, 13-1 against the spread. That spread is -3 right now, a total of 46.5. You can play that at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag. Code next round. When you sign on, you make that initial deposit, they double it, and you can play that money right away with code next round at MyBookie.ag.